How many of you, by a show of hands, if you're driving, just give me a nod of the head. How many of you have ever served on a jury? Anybody? Anybody served on a jury? I have never served on a jury. But I am told it is pretty mundane stuff. You don't get an O.J. Simpson trial. You end up getting something about property lines or a tax case or, some really not very scintillating stuff. And they tell you, bring a book, bring lots of reading material, because you're going to be sitting around for much of the day. Well, I've been called to jury duty, next week, in fact. And I must tell you that, and I feel terribly unpatriotic in admitting this on national radio, I hate the idea of wasting a day, 2 days, even a week on jury duty. I know it's our civic duty. Right. I know that every American is guaranteed an impartial jury of his or her peers. I get that part. I understand that. But I happen to have some pretty basic core beliefs that make serving on a jury, at least for me, real difficult to do in a fair, even-handed way. You know how you always see on Law and Order, and if you watched what used to be Court TV, I think it's True TV now. Are you during voir dire, are you capable of putting aside your biases and just judging on the evidence? I have trouble doing that. And that's why I think I will make a lousy juror. First of all, and this may get me just kicked right off, which would be fine because I really don't want to clog up the system. I love cops. I believe that 99.9% of cops are just folks trying to do the right thing. I don't believe, for instance, that the cops fiddled with the evidence in the O.J. murder case. I mean, I honestly believe to this day that O.J. killed his wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Ronald Goldman. I mean, I believe it. And if it comes to the word of a perp versus the word of the cops, I'll side with the cop every time. 100% of the time. And I know that the defense attorneys probably won't like hearing that. Which does beg the question, how could a reasonable, free-thinking individual not side with the police? If it comes down to a perp saying one thing and the cop says another, who do you believe? Now, I know, first of all, I don't want to go too far down the road with at least admitting that I know that there are those out there within the sound of my voice who don't trust the police. Many in the African-American community don't trust the police. Some new immigrants don't trust the police because of where they lived previously. But I'm going to tell you, if it comes down to a perp versus a cop, I'm going to side with the cop 100% of the time. And when it comes to criminal cases, I simply ask the question, who has the most motivation to lie or manipulate evidence? I mean, the perp or the police? Cops don't know who this guy is unless they've dealt with him before. I love cops. I have cops in my family. In fact, I have a next-door neighbor who I call Detective Bill. I used to have to call him Officer Bill, and then he took the detective test, and now he's Detective Bill. I see him just about every day as he heads off to work. I also know that every time he heads off to work, that there is at least a chance he won't be coming home to his a new beautiful wife, Chris, and little dog, Baron. And I have a healthy respect for what he does and what his brothers and sisters do. That's why I think I honestly believe I would be a lousy juror. And I don't think I'm the sort of juror that a defense attorney will want. Now, I will say this, relative to cops, there is good news when it comes to cops. Line of duty police deaths are down. Fewer police officers died in the line of duty in 2008 compared to last year. I think they're getting better training. They're learning how to deal better with touchy situations. And they're teaching their officers, I think, for the most part, how to stay out of danger as best you can. Gunfire deaths dropped to 41 officers this year. That's 41 too many. Officer deaths this year totaled 140 compared to 181 a year ago. Anyway, my point is, I love cops, and I don't see how any reasonable person, and maybe there's somebody out there that would disagree with me, and that's fine. And if you do, that's fine. Bring it on. 888-727-BECK. But I don't see how any reasonable person, given a perp who was arrested for a crime, presumed innocent until proven guilty, I don't see how you could take their word versus the cop's word. Now I'm not sure if you've ever been called a jury. I mean, have you ever done any of that? This is going to be my first try at it. But I'm going to tell you, I mean, even before I ever report, that I really feel that our criminal justice system is broken. I mean, rich guys get off all the time, if you can afford a dream team. Poor folks get the legal crumbs left on the table, and there's not many of those. This system, to put it honestly, the system I think is broken, and I've had attorneys tell me that as well. It is the only system we have, but it's broken. And I'm not sure if I'm the one juror who can fix that entire system. We're going to get to your calls here in just a couple minutes, so if you want to join in, you're certainly welcome to do so. 888-727-BECK. That's 888-727-BECK. By the way, have you ever served on a jury? I have never met anybody who served on a jury that did much of anything. No scintillating murder cases that you see on Court TV or True TV. None of that. And what I've been told by people who serve on a jury, who have served, is that it's a lot of sitting around, and the cases you get are not, stuff you'll see on Law and Order. I mean, it's real, mundane, really boring stuff. And for that, they pay, first of all, this thing of paying you $10 a day, and I know it varies by jurisdiction, but $10 a day. Do they really expect a lot of people to want to work for $10 a day? Now, if you said $10 an hour, there might be a lot of takers. And maybe that's the answer. If you want more participation in our judicial system, maybe you need to pay the most important part of it. It's not the lawyers. We're making $150 an hour or $300 an hour. It's not the judge that's making $180 a year. I mean, the most important part of this whole thing is the jury. And yet we pay the jury slave wages. As I say, this whole system, I think, is broken. I've just, for the life, and again, I say this as a novice. I say this as a guy who has never served one day on a jury. And you know what? I'm shocked. I have never, I vote. And I was always told if you vote, you'll get called for jury duty. If you don't vote, that's how you usually get out of it. They just never know you're around. But I've never been on a jury, and as I said at the top of the show, I just got notice about 2.5 weeks ago, that I'm going to be serving on or at least I'm going to appear for jury duty in the next week. And I'm just warning you folks up front, jury number 7 could be dangerous. A conservative talk show host. I don't know that I would want me on a jury. I mean, if I were a defendant fighting for my life or for my property or for a principle, I don't know that I would be the ideal juror. We'll find out. And next time we're sitting in for Glenn, I'll tell you what happened. But it's just one of those things that I just want to get that out there. And I know it sounds like I'm whining. I know it sounds like I'm just trying to make an excuse to get out, and that I don't want to work for $10 a day, which is, by the way, right. I don't want to work for $10 a day. And really, when you think of it, I mean, think about this for a second. What's the most important component in a jury trial? It's the jury. It's the jury. And yet we pay the attorneys $300 an hour. We pay the judge $100,000, maybe $120 a year. And we pay the jury $10 a day. Oh, but hey, we'll validate your parking too. Well, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get all worked up. We'll get to your calls all across America and the free world in just a matter of moments.